Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Unslaved. Happy to be back with you today. We are going to be doing the conclusion to this epic 10-part series on the Dead Sea Scrolls Deception. We've gotten lots of great feedback and great questions and comments from you all, so appreciate that. And so, chapter 10, here it is. Good to see you as always, Michael. This has been a pretty epic one. 10 chapters. And as we've been going through, it seems that there's been so much information presented. We could go into so many different directions with this, but it's been very clear and concise thus far. And here we are wrapping it up with the conclusion, at least for now, on one of the most intriguing mysteries of our time. So, where should we begin with this?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad people joined us for this, and we chose this format rather than trying to cram it all. You can now know why I disliked formats out there on the internet that I had to do before. We had Unslaved, cramming everything into 40 minutes, constant interruptions, commercials, idiotic questions. This is the kind of material that can't be done that way. You have to have your own setup, so to make it worthwhile, because some of these are very pertinent. So I'm so glad we made it through, and also tried to leave out extraneous matters. Tried to make this as streamlined as possible, because there's so many cul-de-sacs and highways and byways that one could have got into. And remember, no two authors on this subject agree. It's just, I wish it was different. But on the whole, one of the issues or problems, let's say, is that every author you read has a different take. And so you have to get used to that. It actually can become kind of a boon in a way later on, because you don't want everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. I know that makes things easier. I know that's what most people expect, but that's the dogma. That's why people are religious in that dogmatic sense all over the world, and there are countless millions, is because they want that one size fits all, shrink wrapped analysis, which their left brain can fool them into thinking is logical and what have you, and easy to grasp and formulaic, in the sense that I'm really suspending my thinking with this. That's what dogma is. I suspend my thinking, and I also edit. If I should say even in archaeology, if a new discovery is made, or new manuscripts are discovered, like in the case of the Dead Sea Scrolls, well, I can just edit that out. The international team did that, and the whole world followed suit. So we can just say that's some sectarian, mad sect that certainly didn't speak for all Jews, and certainly didn't speak for all Christianity, not in the least. We'll do our best to edit that out and not bother, following the leads, what this might tell us. And of course, in doing that, what happens is nothing more than the dogmatic position remains intact. But okay, you can get away with that for so long. You can park the Dead Sea Scrolls, but then came the Nag Hammadi, Gnostic Gospels. What do you do with that? And then tomorrow there's the Q document got discovered, the basis of some of the Gospels. And tomorrow it'll be something else again. The secret Gospel of Mark was discovered. The Gospel of Thomas was discovered. Endless apocryphal works were discovered. Pseudo-epigraphica were discovered. So how long can this editing process go on, where your dogmatic beliefs simply, rigidly will not connect with it, will not, and you just say, well, that's just for some paleography, that's just from some academic interest. Is it? Is that the case? Is that the way you want to live? Well, again, millions of people want to live that way. I hope our audience knows, no, that's not good enough. I can't look in the case of the international team. What did we say when we covered those particular slides, right? Belief trumped history. And they didn't even mind telling you it verbally, aggressively, pompously, shouting down anyone that said, no, history and facts come before faith. No, says the international team. No, said the weight of the Vatican. Absolutely not. We will decide what is fact. We've got a God, a central oracle. We line up in our black robes in front of that oracle, and it tells us that no matter what, the word of God, allegedly, well, of course, each verse can have up to 80 different translations when it comes right down to it, but no, we're going to forget about that. Right? Do you realize in the Old Testament alone, you can have two books side by side or nearby, and they're 600 years apart in time. Think of the book of Amos compared to, say, the Ecclesiastes. One is in the 8th century, the other is in the 2nd century. 600 years. Oh, and in each case, in each book, there are the scholars have discovered earlier versions and later versions of the same book. There can be dozens. That's what the Dead Sea Scrolls also discovered. When they discovered some of the old, these look like versions, right? When they're unfurling these Dead Sea Scrolls on the roofs of hotels, they're finding, Book of Isaiah, Book of whatever, right? Daniel. They're versions. You can have older versions and you can have newer versions. And in the newer versions, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not even in the earlier versions of the same book. And on it goes. You can have a later book, because they use myth-mongering to connect things that, as I said, were centuries and centuries apart, but sticking in one book. And then they had other, the mythmongers have other techniques, like in the later book, in order to draw a parallel that doesn't exist with the earlier book, they might incorporate something in the later book that kind of nods or, refers back to an earlier book. Like, say, in Ecclesiastes, this is just an example. In Ecclesiastes, they say, remember as the great Amos said. Remember as the great Amos did. Everybody's going, what? Who? What? Some what? We never heard of the guy. But that's mythmongers connecting books that have no connection whatsoever. Then we get it. 2,000 years later, we get it. Oh, that's a big help. And only with the painstaking work of people going, what the, like, and then, like we've seen with with John Allegro, out come the heavy guns to try and wipe them out. And the people on the My Astrotheology Zone site, all suffered this similar fate. But we need them. We need them so badly to join the whole thing up. And we'll do other related things down there. But in order to keep this together, this series, we just wanted to keep out some of the extraneous things. Could always deal with them later in appendix form or in new programs, So I'm really happy the way this came out. And that the members have remained attentive and put up with us, But I think out of the last two programs are especially important because they show that this is not a matter of ancient history. There is something always that crops up in what we call modernity, because it's not that time is cyclical or anything like that. It's not anything to do with Nietzsche's eternal return. No, it's a simple fact called race memory. So if we go to the first slide, we'll underline this for people. Where does it all come from? Where does it all come from? When you see these synchronized dancing maniac retards, right? You've got to understand the symbolism. It comes from somewhere, not indicting the actual bands. 50